Okay, good evening, everyone. Today, we are going to have a session with an amazing personality uh, who is an Ironman, who is a full marathon runner, who is an ultra marathon runner, and who ran many marathons with sub-4 timing. And he just started running in 2014. So in these last 6 years, he did many achievements. And 2014 he started, and then 2016 he did his Berlin Marathon, and then 2000 and Cochin Marathon, and then 2017 he did Dubai Marathon. From 2017 onwards, all of his marathons are sub-4. And in Kochi 2017, he finished his marathon with 3 hours 52 minutes. In his age category, he got an award from Sachin Tendulkar for his achievement. And then recently he did Abu Dhabi Marathon in December 2019 with 3 hours 36 minutes of his best timing. And he did almost 8 full marathons and 12 half marathons and 2 official Ironman, and then 3 self-supported Ironmans. So today we are going to meet Mr. Mohandas, and he will be guiding us and then telling us how he did all his achievements, and then how we will be improving our running to achieve this kind of running timing, or whatever your like breathing techniques or like heart rate training. All this you at the end of the session you can get it clarified from him. Anyway, hope he will be covering all these points in his session, and he will be sharing us some presentations also. So sir, you can continue, you can start, and then you can guide us about
Mohandas ji. Just a minute. See, thank you, Ilayaraja. Just I want to add few things actually. Since I'm closely associated with Mohandas ji, there are 2 interesting things which I would like to tell actually. See, most of us, we are staying abroad, and yearly once we will be going vacation. Yes. So mostly after, when we land in the nearest airport, what we will do, we will take a taxi or friends will come to pick up. But last year, Mohandas ji, he from airport, local airport to his house, it is somewhere around 56 kilometers. He ran there. From airport to home, he went by running.
That is amazing.
And one more interesting thing which I would like to add is like last Ramadan season, he had done 30 triathlons in 30 days.
Oh, okay.
30 triathlons. Staying was sprint, Olympic and Olympic distance and all that. So these are the 2 interesting things which I want to tell about him.
That is
Mohandas, you can continue.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for coming for the session.
Okay, thank you. Let me use my screen first. Hello?
Yes, sir. We are able to.
I'm not able to share the screen.
No, you can.
You can make him a host.
Yeah, he is already a host actually. There is a share screen option is there. You can just click it and then choose your screen. Simple.
Okay, 1 second. Let me. Yeah. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you able to see now? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Right. So does it go for a? Oh, okay. Fine. Perfect. So good evening, all friends. So since our time is limited, I will try to, as much as possible, be to the point and then make it as useful as possible. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And then I know many of you might met many of you. Some of are on Strava and Facebook friends. So I will in this session, basically what I'm trying to do is mostly giving my experience in how the heart rate based training was very effective in improving the marathon performance. Not only mine, actually many of my friends who are doing a lot of marathons and ultra marathons and triathlons. So first we will go into some basic thing. I will skip through some data. This slide shows the marathon of around 3 million people for the past few years. It's a statistical data taken from the internet. This is nothing, no elite runners are included here. It is only the recreational runners. You can see a wide spectrum of finish times from 2.5 hours to all the way 7 hours. Mostly centered around 4.5 hours. Distribution is very close to a normal distribution. And you can always, interestingly, you can see some peaks here actually. That's very, very interesting actually. 3 hours, 3:30 or milestones, you can see many runners. So that shows the specific target and specific training plan followed, and then they follow maybe a bus on that particular day and finish on the time. Now, it is always important to see where we stand in this graph. So it is like on an average, the men finishing time is 4 hours 15 minutes, women 4:47, and on an average all the 3 million runners over the past few years, it is 4.5 hours. We can always check our status, actually, personal status on internet. You go to the Mara Stats website and then put in our finishing time and age group. Then it tells us where we stand in this the entire marathon finishing time spectrum. So this is my data actually at present. It is given. You can see that 78%. I am faster than 78 percentile. And then with respect to age group, it is 85%. So that means there are around 22% of runners are faster than me, and 15% of my age group runners are faster than me. So we can always monitor our position from time to time. Then if you see the marathon runners age group, total number of runners in different groups. Marathon is not a sport where only the young people are there. Everybody, very much 30 to 60 years. Most of the marathon runners belong to these three groups: 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59. And with time, more people from higher age group, older age group, are participating in the marathon. Now, this slide shows the most popular marathon, and the first one is the Boston Marathon, which is a dream for every marathon runner to run. And this is the only marathon where we need to have a specific qualification criteria to even apply to get a chance. Other marathons, there are lot and lottery systems and other systems. Boston, most of the 95% plus are all taken based on this, and only very few sports are from charity and other things. So these 5 marathons, around 25% of all the marathon runners have done one of these marathons. So that shows the popularity of these marathons. So every runner, Boston is the target. And around 3.74% of total marathon runners, they could only run Boston. So getting into Boston itself is a big achievement for any marathon runner. So the problem with the marathon, 42 kilometers, this is one of the issue some of the marathon runners face, especially in the beginning of their marathon career. It is if you see the statistics, approximately 2 to 3% of the runners do not finish marathon for different reasons. and around 35 to 40% is a very high percentage experience hitting the wall. Hitting the wall is, they will not be able to finish the way expected. Some will hit the wall very badly. They will have to walk maybe last 10-15 kilometers. Some will get cramps and they will slow down and finish somehow. But 30 to 40% of the people in most marathon do not finish the way they planned, or they don't get into the target what they expected. One of the main reasons for that is actually the glycogen reserves in our body is not enough, not sufficient to fuel a marathon. So we'll come into those details. So these are the basic things available and statistical data based on which we can work on our marathon program. So little bit of endurance physiology here on my performance. What I have done is actually I used to run with a running club called the Desert Road Runners. They are the first running club formed in Dubai about 35 years back. So one of the person over there, Graham, he was the one who formed the British. He used to give us a lot of scientific information about running. Whenever we used to run fast, he used to tell us, don't do like this, and a lot of things. So I learned a lot from him about this, and then did a lot of work, research, reading on it, and discussion with my friends. So these are some of the information which I gathered. I will share this information for the first part of the marathon running is all about the energy production, supply. How much energy you can produce on that particular day of your marathon. It is both power and also the capacity. Both are important. And when we talk about the energy production, the first thing is the fuel. And fuel comes basically, there are two sources. One is the carbohydrate source and the other one is the fat. Second is to generate the energy, biochemical processes, oxygen is required. So definitely the heart rate becomes a very important factor over there. And then the VO2 max. VO2 max is the maximum oxygen capacity. And then how the body uses the fuel and oxygen to convert it into energy, the metabolism, complex reactions that is happening in the cellular level and in the whole system. It's very complicated. We don't have to go into those details. The second part of it is the first part is about the supply of energy. The second part is also very important actually. It is the utilization of energy demand, the economy of running. Economy of running is one of the area most of the marathon runners don't care much actually. We hear a lot about the first part, do a lot of training, running, reducing heart rate, increasing VO2 max, and increasing the metabolism. A lot of things are done on the first part, energy production. But most of the marathoners don't give the same level of importance into the second part, which is actually important, actually, the economy. So to have a very good marathon running economy, what is the most important three factors are, one is the running biomechanics. The running form is very, very important. Then BMI, body mass index. A marathon runner, anything above 25 is not at all a good BMI. And most of the elite runners look close to 21, 20, 21, 21.5 kind of BMI. So as low, as less as possible, the BMI is one of the main factors which determines the marathon performance. Then definitely the strength and flexibility of the whole system. Muscle strength is very important and the flexibility is also important. So here the strength training becomes an important factor. Then yoga becomes an important factor. If you do the yoga, and these not only improves the marathon performance, it will significantly reduce the chance of injury. That is very, very important. And then, of course, the third part is the race and course conditions. We have to be very careful with the race and course conditions while training for marathon. So if marathon course is about elevation, high temperature, high humidity. We will have to train as much as possible close to those conditions. Otherwise, on that day, you will not get the kind of economy what you expect. And although you have your power capacity, energy supply, but you will not be able to complete the marathon the way you expected, because the utilization is more, the demand is more, and the body is not able to cope up with that. So definitely pay good enough attention to the running form and other strength training, the body mass index, and study well the race and course conditions before you start training for any specific marathon. Then the third part is actually during the marathon process of 3 to 5 years, there are a lot of things happening in the body, a lot of reaction, a lot of stuff happening, and it generates a lot of waste also. Waste in terms of chemical and also waste in terms of heat. So whenever these reactions are happening, this process is happening, there is heat generated. So body is trying to clear these chemical waste and also the excess heat. And that process, the efficiency of the waste clearance is also very important in the final outcome of the marathon run. And then, of course, the communication system, the neuromuscular process in the system where the master control, because for every runner, we think that legs are the most important, which determines the marathon. It's not the legs. It is the brain which determines how well the marathon will go. Everything is controlled from there. If one click of it, then you can have a muscle cramp, and then there could be a system shutdown if things don't go the way brain wants to go. Then definitely in that area, when it comes to our training program, it is the lactate clearance. Lactate is one of the most important waste generated. It is not the lactate, actually, it is the acidity, lactic acid, the acidity, the pH goes up, and then body has to clear it with time. And then the core temperature, increase in core temperature. This has a very important function in the marathon performance. This is where, especially if you are running on tropical climates where the temperature is high, humidity is high, the core temperature is one of the most critical factors that will determine the final 10-15 kilometers of our run. Then, of course, the hydration. We have to have the ions, sodium, potassium, and all these ions in proper ratio, the requirement. And if there is more sweat and more losses, then hydration is very, very important. So the hydration level of the body before the marathon, on the marathon day morning, and during the marathon, this is very important. That has to be very well studied. And you can see this in this graph, the lactate level. This is one of the most important parameter that determines the performance of a marathon runner, where you go from a low output to a high output, the low pace to high pace, the muscle blood pH goes up, lactate level goes up definitely. And if two athletes have different, for example, athlete A and athlete B, here you can see the athlete B has a higher lactate threshold. He can go to a higher higher effort level or a higher pace, keeping the lactate at a lower level. So all these three factors are important. The energy supply, then the energy utilization demand, and then of course the waste clearance, communication, and of course the hydration levels and all these parameters. So it's very important. All the training programs are based on these, and then each one has its own importance. We cannot ignore one area and train on the other area and expect the marathon performance is higher. So then it comes to, we can summarize like marathon. What are the important factors for a marathon? So we choose a marathon to run. Then there are external factors which we cannot control ourselves. The temperature, humidity, elevation of that particular course. Then the crowd support is important and the race support is important. air quality, UV index, start time. These are all external factors which we don't have much control on it actually. You choose a marathon whether you go run it or not. Then it comes to the internal factors which we can control ourselves and improve. Definitely, as we mentioned earlier, the BMI. And not only the BMI, the muscle mass distribution is important. We can always have an analysis done on our fat percentage, muscle percentage. And it is, if you are seriously looking into certain thing, you can always monitor. I do monitor these maybe once in a year at least to see how well it is, what is the percentage levels. And then it is the liver and muscle glycogen levels. Glycogen is one of the most important fuel for the marathon. These levels can be manipulated by training. And there are a lot of things. We know that there is carbo loading and we eat a lot before the marathon for 4 or 5 days. So much of it's not that actually. There are so many other ways of doing it, training, and then there is glycogen supercompensation and that kind of things taken into account during the marathon training program. Then the third one is the fat burning limit and capacity. So this is one of the most important factors that determines the last 10 kilometers of run, how will you be able to run, whether the fuel will last till the end. So this is another thing considered in the training program. Then aerobic capacity, what is your VO2 max? VO2 max is the amount of oxygen available to the muscle cells. That is the oxygen in milliliter per kg per minute of and typically this value is around, I would say around 40 to 60 for usually a recreational runner, and elite runners it can go up to 80, 90. So when I started, I had done a test to determine the VO2 max. It was 40, 42 range. And now it is around 56, 58 range. So that shows the aerobic capacity. And this can be, and even Garmin allows estimation of these, and you may get it an approximate value of the VO2 max during your training program. This can be closely monitored. Then energetic cost of running economy, as we mentioned, lowest energy consumption as possible by improving many running dynamics and other factors. Lactate kinetics and lactate threshold. So our system should be producing as less lactate as possible. And then if at all any lactate is produced, body should be able to clear it with time at that particular pace or the effort level what we are putting on the marathon day. Then muscle strength and flexibility, very, very important. So if you have the running muscles in good shape, good strength, then the chance of having fatigue and then towards the end any cramps from the muscle fatigue, the chances are less and you will be able to run much better. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we are able to hear you, sir. Yeah, we are able to hear you.
Yeah, okay. And then the core strength and flexibility. Core strength is one of the most critical area when it comes to strength training. When we talk about marathon strength training, it is not about building muscles and six-pack and lot of muscles in different parts of the body. No, you might have seen the elite runners. They are lean and then they don't have any visible muscles around. So what is important is whatever the muscles we have, it should be in good shape. It's not bulky. And the core strength is very, very important because the running form depends on the core strength. And when we start a marathon, initially 10 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 20, 25, fantastic. There is no problem because we have enough energy. As towards the end, what happens is usually the core becomes weak and we start bending. And then even if you want to keep the running form, it won't be possible. You know that your form is collapsing, but there is no way unless you have a properly stabilized core. So do a lot of core strength exercise and then make sure that the core is strong and then there is enough stability in your framework actually. Then running form dynamics, definitely there are a lot of drills and running form analysis and all this stuff available. This is another topic actually always. So that is, but we can make out actually if with the friends we can always What I used to do earlier is I used to videograph people from the side, and then this can be done between friends here and there. And then if you do the slow motion, you will know whether your heel is hitting or your knee is high, and then this can be done like about 3 months or 6 months to monitor the progress. And there are ways of improving, and everyone will improve definitely. If you keep these things in your mind, there is something goes wrong, the moment you come to know about it, you automatically the system will go out. So we have to purposely do it during the training, then it goes to the subconscious mind, and then automatically it will come on the marathon day. Running form is very, very important. And then of course the training program, what training program you follow is very, very important. And then whatever the training you have done, then how do you execute on the specific race day? There comes the physiological part and also a little bit of psychology. And then if you're running with a group and bus and friends and the atmosphere, everything will contribute a lot. So this is the main 10 points that has to be considered during any marathon planning and training. Now we'll go into the little bit of energy calculation for a marathon. A marathon energy requirement we can estimate. It's a simple formula, and the energy is proportional to your distance and your body mass. If you are running a full marathon, distance is fixed, 42 for everyone. Then it comes to the mass, body mass. The lower the mass, the energy required is less. Then there is a proportional, the constant of proportion. The constant is called the unit energy cost. That is typically around 1. For a very good runner, it will be less than 1. It will be initially, if it is beginning, the less economic runner, it will be more than 1. So the constancy determines training level, the endurance level. Lot of things are there. This is, if it is 1.1, you have 10% extra. If you're 0.9, you are more than 10% less. So the C is the one which we improve with training. And approximately, as an example, 70 kilo person to run a marathon, he needs around 3,000 kilocalories, a minimum requirement, because there could be excess energy required for the heat and other factors in marathon. This is an approximate. Then where does it come from? So body has a carbo-glycogen reserve. And these are typical figures, because there can be different numbers of, but this is just to give an idea. Don't go quantitatively in it, just take it as a qualitative approach. So here we have glycogen stored in liver and muscle, which is available for, there are limitations, of course, the other factors. So approximately the total carbo available is around 1,600 to around 3,000 kilocalorie. It's a wide range, because it's person to person, it varies, and training, and there are a lot of factors. There are so many factors. So approximately for a starting runner or a normal runner like us, we may have around 2,000 kilocalorie. That means we are in short of about 1,000, at least 1,000 kilocalorie for a marathon. So that is why around 2.5, 3 hours, this is good enough. And towards the end, we don't have enough energy to run in most marathons. But luckily, we have body fat reserve, plenty of it. And even if you take a 2% of the body fat, which is available for energy conversion, it is good enough to run 4 marathons. So that means with respect to marathon running, energy is available in our body, but not in the form of carbohydrate. We have enough fuel available as fat. And this fat becomes very, very important for those who are running ultra marathons. Because ultra marathon, we are talking about marathon 3,000 kilocalorie. That will be kind of 10,000, 20,000 kilocalorie, depending on your running 100 kilometers or 200 kilometers. So all those ultra marathon endurance runners will be looking at this blue, the green one, body reserve. They will not rely anything on the carbo much. And of course, we can have additional energy resources. We can have a nice breakfast on the morning day, and it will get digested, come into our stream. And then we can have eat. We cannot eat plenty on the run. Okay, we will try to eat something. But even if we eat more, there is always limitation of the body, that how much of glycogen carbo can be digested with that time. So that is limited, is less than 200 kilocalories per hour. So it depends on the person to person, but definitely it's much less. So from this calculation, what it goes is, if you rely only on carbohydrate, glycogen reserves, and then rely on the mid-race fueling and the breakfast and all, you will not be able to, most 90% of the cases, you will not be able to do the marathon, except if those who are running 2 hours marathon, 2.5 hours marathon, even up to maybe 2:45, 3 hours marathon, they may not face much of an issue with the fat burning, because at that kind of a pace, fat burning will be much less. So they will be able to manage. So those who are running longer definitely have to rely more on the fat reserves. So this is about the different energy systems. You have the ATP store only, which lasts for seconds, and then you have the phosphocreatine system, then that is for seconds, and then the lactic acid systems. So these are for sprinting and the kind of running. For marathon running, we have to always depend on the aerobic system, where the energy conversion is steady and it is sustained. Now, this is a typical figure. It's very important for a marathon runner to know actually what's happening actually. So as we are talking about, our system is a kind of a dual fuel system. One is fat, where you can see it in the green. This is the level of fat consumption as we go from one lower pace to higher pace. So slow to high. So you can see that it is going steady up to certain level, and then it starts dropping, and almost it's reaching zero. Here in this case, it is reaching zero around 4:15 pace. There is absolutely no fat consumption. And at the same time, the carbo consumption, it is going the other way, because it is the 100% minus. So the carbo, as the pace goes up, the effort level goes up, the carbo consumption goes up, and then it reaches a maximum. And also the total energy consumption, the red, it also goes up. So this is a typical behavior of the energy systems. Now, from one runner to the other, how does it matter is where, for example, you can see here, for this case, it crosses. These lines crosses around 5:25, 5:30 pace. So that area, it is sort of 50%. Another runner may have it before this, maybe another runner at a higher level. So this crossing point, or the behavior of these two, fat and the carbo, this determines the marathon performance of a runner. So ideally, we should have this crossing point to the right side as much as possible. So this gives you an approximate pace at which you can marathon, ensuring that you will have enough energy resources till the 42 kilometers. Now, if you see the energetics, these are how the conversion is done. So, okay. Now, to summarize, carbo versus fat burning. Carbo burning, it happens in both aerobic and anaerobic way. I hope you know both these metabolic ways. Aerobic pathway is actually it's a natural way of energy conversion. It is happening in presence of oxygen, with oxygen. It is the carbohydrate is getting burned into carbon dioxide and water, and ATP is generated. There is a lot of complex process in between happening. It's a natural process, no lactate form, no lactic acid form, no other issues. So it is a natural process, and it can be sustained for long. At the same time, the second process, anaerobic pathway, is not a natural process. Anaerobic pathway is without oxygen. It produces lactate and other complications. So, and usually the aerobic process, it is happening at the low intensity level, and the anaerobic process happening at a higher intent level. And fat burning is predominantly aerobic, and that determines the endurance. So for a good marathon runner, he should have a very good aerobic base. more you go in the anaerobic zone, you will have its complications involved. So what percentage of our run is in aerobic zone will determine how well we finish the marathon. So that is very important. So fat burning, aerobic, these are good things in marathon. Not we burn only carbohydrate and we do everything in anaerobic state. So the big three in marathon training, I would say always, there are so many factors, three most important things. One is we have to improve the running economy. That is where most of the slow running comes into picture. So if you want to run a 4 hours marathon, the pace required is 5:40. If you do all your runs every day, you go in the morning, run 10 kilometer, 20 or 13, 5:40, it is very difficult to maybe you do it on the marathon day, you finish at 5:40. So you have to also do a lot of running, majority of your running at much lower pace than 5:40. I would say at least 30 seconds slower, 45 seconds slower, 1 minute slower than the target marathon pace. So if you are targeting a 4 hours marathon, most of your long run should be at least 6:15, 6:30 kind of pace. So that will improve your running economy, your metabolism will go, your cellular mitochondrial level will go up. There are a lot of physiological adaptations will happen in your body. That will improve your running economy. And at the same time, most of these training activities will be in an aerobic level, and you are not complicating your system much. Your recovery will be much faster. Then the second part is, but if you run only a kind of 6:15, 6:30 and 6:45 pace, and then on the marathon day you expect to run at 5:40, it's not possible. So it is not that kind of MAF running. If you do every day slow run and expect to run a fast marathon on the marathon day, it will not happen. So you have to do some runs in the other extreme. So VO2 max is on the other extreme of the run. You go all out, not all out. We don't have to do sprinting. Fast, comfortably hard. Comfortably hard, you don't have to run 10, 20, 30 kilometers. You can run even 100 meters, 200 meters, slowly build it up, 600 meters, 800 meters, do intervals, take rest in between. But the end of the day, you would run maybe 3 or 4 or 5, depending on your training cycle at the higher. So this will improve your aerobic power and aerobic potential and your efficiency. Everything will go up. So this is kind of a polarized training. You do one lower end of your spectrum, slow, and then the higher end of your intensity spectrum. So both poles we are doing. Both. It's a polarized approach in training. And then you have to also do the lactate threshold. Lactate threshold is usually done at your kind of half marathon or slightly faster than half marathon pace, where you start creating a little bit of lactate and then body get used to it and the body learns how to clear it and how to manage with this kind of a situation that would happen on the marathon day. So that is how, so these are the three important areas. One is on the slowest end of the spectrum, one is on the highest end of the spectrum, and third one is somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, close to your kind of a race and thing like that. So these three are the key areas where the training should be followed. Then it is also possible you can, so if you have done only 10K and you want to do a half marathon, or if you have done a half marathon, you want to do a full marathon, then what time should I target and all these things. There is always a possibility, race prediction. Of course, one can use the Regal's formula. This is, he made it in 1977, but one of the most simplest and easiest for to use. So here, this particular graph is my timing as of now, as an example. You can see here, actually, I have used my 10K time as a reference. And these are the prediction. You can see here the prediction levels, and these are the actual level. It's more or less close by, but you can see the marathon, I haven't reached to that level. It predicts 3:24, 3:36, but I was not to that level actually. So in general, this gives a rough guideline of what could what is at the present ability, your present ability with respect to your available race data. You can predict if you have done a marathon. You can also predict the shorter versions, half marathon or 10K or whatever it is. So this is a simple formula which can be used to determine. So this is the first step of finalizing a target. Actually, it's a reasonably good target to train with an target to achieve on the marathon day. Then if we go to the heart rate based marathon training, now we are coming to the heart rate based marathon training. Why is the heart rate? One of the question is actually why without heart also people are training, and this it is possible without heart rate also. See, the importance is actually while we are running, we can have a Garmin watch which gives us a lot of data in terms of the speed and maybe dynamics and this, so many things. But we really don't know how much effort we are putting. That effort level we know only from our feel. It is more qualitative. In cycling, we have an option of putting a power meter, and then nowadays there are very accurate power meters which will tell you actually how much watt you're putting in. It's 130 or 150 or 190, and then they talk about the functional threshold power and overtraining and performance. Even on the race day, people just keep the power, constant power, and race. They have strategies. But in running, we don't have that kind of a system to determine how much power we are putting on it. And this is only from the feeling, actually. So only way, and that too it's a cheap way of measuring what is happening, what kind of effort level we are putting on our body. And this is also good from a safety point of view. Most of my marathons or races run always based on my heart rate because I have cardiomyopathy. I have to monitor my cardio to a great extent, and definitely heart rate. Without heart rate monitor, I won't run any races. And most of the races, sometimes I put only one window on my Garmin just to see the heart rate, no pace. And pace and speed and all those things are output. Actually, it's not an input to the thing. It is you are putting an effort, and your pace and the speed and everything will determine on what kind of course you're running, what is your training level, what is there elevation, is there going downhill or uphill, and all those factors. So here, hello.
Yes, sir, we are able to hear you.
Okay. In between some sound came.
Yeah.
Okay. So now when we start this training program on this, actually this slide summarizes everything about the training program. Usually the people have different ways of putting the zones, but I have found these in my experience very useful and user friendly. The first zone is very slow. It's a recovery zone. Second one is kind of an aerobic zone where you do most of the runs. It is mostly aerobic in nature and more comfortable to do. You can do a longer side. Third level, you go slightly increase the intensity. It is go an endurance level, marathon pace, and that kind of a level. And then the fourth zone, you go again slightly uncomfortable, half marathon zone. And then the final zone is the uncomfortable zone, the VO to max. So what is normally done is training is done in all the 5 zones. Each zone has its own benefits and its own purpose. The first one is definitely recovery. On a recovery day, we are not supposed to run long and we are not supposed to run hard. We should have a very good control on the both time and pace on it. Actually, what is the purpose of recovery run is not to strain the muscles anymore, because it's rebuilding from a previous activity. We have to just ensure there is some circulation of blood is happening and the stuff, whatever is accumulated is clearing out, and we have the full thing, muscle repair is happening more efficiently. This recovery run can be replaced with a cross-training activity also. For those who are injury-prone, those who cannot run 5-6 days a week, week they can do it. The second one is the aerobic run. A marathon runner should be running most of his runs in this zone. You can see on here on the bottom right side, I have mentioned my 6 of my training runs here. You can see 52% is in zone 2. 52% of the miles, the kilometers. And then you can see 13% is in recovery. So that means 65%, 1/3, 2/3 of all my runs are on the very low side of the intensity. So this can be done any day because you're not creating any anaerobic things and issues in it. And the third one, you can see 17% in the over and only 5% in the fast. That is good enough actually. It is like you make a dish and we put spices in it. This zone 5 is like spices. You don't have to put so much spices in it. What is important is the zone 2 and the kind of 3. And this zone level also depend on the training cycle actually. When you start training, you'll be more on the lower side and you will slightly push it onto the right side, and then closer to the race, you will be running at slightly higher the periodization. And you can see here another thing actually. This is a plot of a pace versus heart rate. And though if you take the full thing, it is not exactly linear, but in our range of interest, the pace, it is more or less linear. It has a very nice split. You can see the correlation is very high. And this equation is enough to predict your marathon time. So what I do is all my runs I record, and I record the heart rate very accurately, and then the data is collected, and you can also see some the pink dots. These pink dots are special runs. These are called calibration runs, and I ensure that everything is spot on. The course is flat and the conditions are normal, and everything is done. The nutrition, hydration is done, and I do these runs periodically to ensure that this graph, all this method is this calibration runs. So from this equation, the linear fit equation, all the other calculate. There are a lot of other things you can estimate, predict, and find out. Now, this is the second sheet where what kind of percentage levels are in the each zones. So typically zone 1 is kind of 60 to 68%. This can vary because this is all subjective. This is what I am following it. It can be called, there are people who are taking 7 zones, 8 zones, different level. And zone 2 is 68 to 80%. Zone 3, 80 to 84. Zone 4, 84 to 92, and 92 to 100. So as the zone goes up, the pace level increases, and of course the heart rate. All this is based on my maximum heart rate of 183. This is initially I took it as some empirical number, but then later on with a lot of data collection, I fine-tuned into this number. And each person will have his own calculations available, but it may not be true for everyone because each person has his own heart rate responses and heart rate limits. So these 3 numbers, the maximum heart rate, the slow intercept, and the slope, this gives all about the training and improvement and everything. And based on these numbers, these are my training zones. And then you can see the marathon prediction based on this is the fastest marathon is 325, slowest is 337. I am around 336, close to that. I'm not in the mean in this. But marathon 139 prediction, and I'm very close to that. And 10K is 43, 44 in my time, and 21, 22 is mine. So most of these things can be, if you have reliable data over a period of time, calibrate the data, and then we can exactly pin the training runs, what level is to go. You can know the heart rate, and you can also know the pace. Now, this graph I want to show you based on my last 2 years. So exactly the same. What happened in the last 2 years of my training? You can see it from the graph. These dotted lines are 2017. If you see the green dotted one, that is the fat burning in 2017. You can see that it starts dropping at 6:30, and then 6 it dropped, 5:30 it came, and 5 it almost became 0. And then the carbo burning was going up, and then I had, you can see around, if I say 5 pace, I had 800 plus calories total energy requirement. Then 2 years of training. In between, there are a lot of marathons done, a lot of things done. This 2019, exactly the solid lines. You can see the fat burning change from this dotted line to here. See here, actually, when at 5, in 2017, there was no fat burning. Now I have around approximately 200 plus calories per hour fat burning. And then definitely there is a reduction in corresponding reduction in carbohydrate. And also you can see the solid dot where it's overall energy consumption, that is also reduced. So this kind of metabolic improvement is happening mainly because of the specific training program. It is just not because of just slow running. It is slow and fast and medium in a right proportion. And this proportion will depend on person to person. So it is any person, it is possible. And I have seen this similar behavior for many of my runners who are following the training program. And at the same time, this graph is about the heart rate, how the heart rate changed, which has a correlation. Now, the first one, the previous one, this analysis to determine the fat and carbo burning, you have to go to a lab, and then there is a breath analyzer. You have to pay a lot of money. So it's not easy to do every time. I did it 2-3 times. And then now I'm able to fit into certain parameters and data to approximately fit in the system without doing the test. So these are actually experimental data. 2017 I did a test, and 2019 I did a test. So these are experimental data. Now, this part, we don't have to go anywhere. You can do it yourself. You just need to have a proper heart rate monitor, monitor heart rate, and then see the behavior over a period of time, what change is happening. So you can see the 2017, the red line is up, and then 2019, it came down. The same pace level, you can see. So you can say at a maximum pace of around 415, 420, I was going around 190, and now it is 170. It's approximately 20 units are down. And around my marathon pace, I have 10 to 15 units of heart rate reduced with this approach. So this graph, any person can get it just by logging in your data. And it's very important to get good data during the run, because it's very important that you don't use a wrist-based heart rate monitoring system. It's not accurate. We always use a chest strap, and then start recording the data only after you start moving. So usually what I do is when I start running, I don't switch on my watch unless I move around 5-10 meters. So it doesn't record the zeros. And then whenever there is a pause, before you stop, you have to pause the watch. So no stop is recorded, no zeros recorded. So at the end of the run, you will have the absolute average, the perfect average. There will not be any zeros into it, because those zeros will change the average so much. So after every run, it's very simple. It is you will have this data in your Garmin. Actually, if you have a Garmin account, you can download it and convert it to Excel. You don't have to type it again. And once in 3 months or once in 6 months, you can download and then do these comparisons. See how it was in. Of course, there are other external factors, the temperature and things like that. But the same month you can compare and kind of thing. In summer, how was it? In winter, how was it? You can always compare. Then the marathon training program, it is very runner specific. But there are some typical guidelines or general principles followed while making a marathon training program. There is always there is a periodization. There is a different phase in the training. That the first day I registered for a Mumbai marathon, and tomorrow I'm going to do a 30-kilometer marathon pace. Not like that. So it depends how you start. Always it's a base phase is a bit slower. You will be doing more runs on the slower side. Your body get used to it. Then there is a build phase. You build both mileage and also power, speed. And then there is a peak phase where you peak actually. It will be less in the lower zones, and you will be more in the mid zones and the fast zones. And then couple of weeks or 3 weeks, depending on the athlete, a taper phase where you reduce the mileage but not the intensity. And then you have the race day, and then there is definitely a recovery phase. I have seen people running marathons every alternate week. That's not at all advisable. After a marathon, it takes at least a month for your body to come to recovery if you're done trying to run hard. So definitely don't run more than 4 marathon at least. 4 is maximum actually. Try to give at least 2-3 months gap in between the marathon. If you want to run more marathons in between, go jog and enjoy it as well, but don't try to race it. Then definitely there is a principle of progression. Progression is not done. So if we are starting from here and we want to reach here, but don't do it in a day or 2. So always it's increased in steps. And then after reaching a steps of 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, depending on the runner's recovery and age and things like that, then there is always a recovery allowed. And then again we start dissing, and then there is a planned recovery, and then this is how the training program is done. So always incorporate some kind of recovery. If you are a swimmer, I used to swim actually. Swimming is my recovery actually. So you don't have to go for a massage or any other. I don't take any supplements, no artificial thing, nothing. For my recoveries, it is the best recovery is swim. Then if you have a bike, do easy rides. Then you will be able to run your training program. And this is one of the recommendation I would give for a general, because again it depends on specific runner. This is not every runner is different, every person is unique, but in general these are the guidelines. So we have 6 types of runs. Recovery runs. Hello.
Yes, sir. We are.
Yeah, because my mic, if it's not working, please let me.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So the first one is the recovery run. So it is approximately 60 to 68% of your VO2 max. That is your maximum heart rate, maximum allowed heart rate. So RP is the rate of perceived exertion. It is in this tense. It is 3 to 4. It is it's very easy. Once per week, 30 to 45 minutes, not longer than that. Then the second one is the slightly higher aerobic run. Aerobic run is the area where somebody is interested in reducing the heart rate. This is the low heart rate training. But this run, it's very difficult to do in summer. Because summer, the moment you start running, your heart rate will go up. Not because of your problem. It is because of the climate. The temperature is high, humidity is high. Automatically, body has to do a lot more things than powering your muscles. So it has to do a lot to cool down your body and all. It has to pump faster. It's not the best time to do it, but in normal circumstances, this level it will help a lot. Then the long run we do on the weekend runs, 70 to 80% of this, it is slightly, it is comfortable. The recovery is very easy. Aerobic run is easy. It is comfortable. It's a conversational pace. Always go with somebody. Don't run alone. Go with somebody, and you should be able to talk. If you are able to talk, converse, that means you are in a comfortable zone. But towards the end, there should be some fatigue. Suppose if you are running a 20 or 30 kilometer, and after 30 kilometer, you feel like that you have done a walk. then that is not good enough actually. You should have some kind of a in effect at the end of the last half an hour, 1 hour, you should feel some fatigue. Then only there will be some improvement in this. So it can go from 90 minutes when starting to 10 minutes. That is 3.5 hours. There is no point in running more than 3.5 hours, even in peak thing. Physiologically, 3 hours, 3.5 hours is more than enough. Even if your marathon time is 5, there's no point in running 5 hours long run. So typically 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, these are good enough. And the most important thing in a long run is don't give any break between. If at all you are giving break, just half a minute, 1 minute, just for sipping of water. I have seen in some running clubs, they go to the petrol station, buy water, drink. It takes about 10 minutes and then you are recovered, fully recovered, and then you are doing another run. So long run, the important is don't break. If you can run without break, have water in the backpack or on the side or somewhere kept, and you can take it and run, then it is always good. Then long interval. Long intervals are kind of 80 to 86% where your marathon pace and all these things will come in. It will be slightly uncomfortable. And then 60 to 90 minutes, you can do 3 kilometers, 5 kilometers, up to 5 kilometers, whatever. It depends on the time zone. Then, of course, it's very important is the tempo run. Tempo run is the continuous run where you start 2-3 kilometers, warm up, and without stopping, you run at a half marathon or a slightly faster pace for about 6 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 10. And I have some athletes, they do even 15 kilometer, 16 kilometer tempo runs. So total will be 20 kilometers. They will start with a 3 kilometer kind of warm up non-stop, and then 50 kilometer at a half marathon or a faster pace, and then last 2 kilometers slow down. This is a non-stop run. These are the most critical runs of the marathon. Then you have the short intervals. This is the other side of this spectrum. That will be very uncomfortable. So these are short runs at the 8 to 9 scale once per week. And you can see these 3 stars on the last 3 runs. So typically in a program, what is normally done is these runs marked in yellow are called quality runs. So you can have 2 quality runs, 3 quality runs a week. So 3 quality runs means long run is mandatory. Always, every week we do a long run. And these 3 long run, tempo run, short intervals, you can skip around. Like now 1 or 2. Keep 2 of these 3. So, and also which one you keep, it depends on your training schedule, in which period you are, build up phase or peak phase and things like that. So it is a combination of all. These are the ingredients, and how we make our dish is based on the situation and the person, actually, person present ability and what exactly you want to reach. Now, once we have all this data, it is even, I have made estimation of, there are empirical calculations that you can predict actually your marathon time, how long these things will last. There are so many things happening. Your carbo reserve coming down, fat reserve will not change much. Your body temperature goes up, your heart rate goes up. From first kilometer to 42 kilometers, so many things are happening. So this is a modeling done before we go into the marathon on what pace this will not. This is kind of a estimation of before we really do it. And it for few of the runners and including myself, it comes within plus minus 5% of the predicted, because there is enough data. There is enough data collected over a period of time, accurate data collected over a period of time. And you can see this. This is my marathon dashboard. You can see actually the marathon. Every marathon is a PB. So you can see this to start with Berlin, then to Cochin, Dubai, Barcelona, where I did. Actually, that was an official trip where I went, and then there was a marathon happening. I got an entry, and then I ran. That was a sub for it. It was excellent weather. Very good city, beautiful marathon. Then I went to this Cochin marathon. That because Sachin was coming, I went for that. And that day was one of the worst day of marathon running because the temperature was very high, humidity was high. First 10 kilometers, the full thing was drenched, but luckily hold on to the finish. Many of good runners, those who came from other parts of India, they could not finish because of this high. Many of them were vomiting and issues like that. So these were, and now of late, last 1.5 years, what I've been trying is I'm not all out in a marathon. It's comfortable and trying to finish strong. Not to so this 3:36 I could have done maybe 3:30, 3:35, and 3:35 is my Boston qualification next year. So if I do a 3:30, I'm going in that. I don't want to push so much. And another runner I want to show you, who followed the training program exactly more than me actually. He was spot on. Every run, every second, everything, including the training and running and planning and pacing, everything spot on. This person is 35-year-old. He's not a lean person. He's kind of a bulky figure. He's first, but he is a football player. He had good physique. He did Dubai 3:56. Then he came to me, and then he did Hyderabad. From here, I started working with him. Then you can see last Dubai marathon he did 3 hours. He's a fantastic runner. And for a 3 hours marathon, usually people follow kind of 120 kilometers per week, but he was doing just 60, 70 because we were doing a lot of swimming and cycling in between. He's an injury prone person who has a knee issue. So luckily he's still now next target for him is 2:45, 2:50 in 1 year time. He's qualified for Boston and he'll be running. And to summarize, see, always I have a lot of friends. I always try to be in a different running group. I'm part of almost all running groups in Dubai, and I have friends everywhere. And I try to mingle with as much as friends as possible. And believe it or not, every day at least 10, 15 calls from my friends and we discuss about these things. That is how I enjoy my time. And then recently, to help my friend, I created a website and they ask questions in it. You can see over here the smartendurancetraining.com. There's a website. Later on, if you have any thing, you can send emails into it, and then we can try to help you as much as possible. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. There are some questions in the chat box. Maybe you can quickly.
Okay,
answer.
let me get it. Should I stop share now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. There are. 1 second. Chat box. There are 7 questions. Yeah. Okay. So first question from Bishwajit. On an average, how long does one to have to practice achieve an endurance HR? Actually, there is no specific time limit. Actually, there is no minimum, there is no maximum. But to see a significant change, I would say at least 3 to 6 months. And it depends on the person also. And how much this training is happening. So to reduce when I started, actually it was too boring. I had to run kind of a pace of 7 and 6:45 for hours. So what I used to do is I used to run almost 6 days a week. Every day maybe 90 to 120 minutes, and weekend maybe more. And these runs are done non-stop because I keep a water bottle on I used to run around a small park, maybe like 80 rounds, 100 rounds, and keep a couple of water bottles there. Snatch the water bottles, so there is not even 1 second of break in between. And this pace was boring in the beginning, so I started because I had to maintain a heart rate of 120 to 130. So at the time, the pace was like a 6:45-7 kind of pace. And with time, maybe 1-2 months, it slowly started coming down. And then I could run the same heart rate, 15 seconds slower, 15 seconds slower. So it took about nearly 6 months, I would say. I was really feeling a lot different in the marathon training. When I do that, was helping even the faster runs also. So I would say about 6 months. You have to be patient for 6 months, but don't do. But it was in 2017. I was learning at that time. It is not good just to run slow only. So I would say that if you want to reduce the heart rate, do slow runs, maybe 3, 4 days, but at least run once a week, little fast. Your target marathon pace or even faster than that. It can be an interval run. So I would always just you do slow runs, more slow runs, 60, 70, 80% of it, but at least 10, 20% of it on the slightly faster side, and maybe 5% very fast. Try to do some pickups, and you can do 100-meter pickups. You do 50-meter kind of fast run and the 50-meter walk, and then again 50-meter walk, run, and 50-meter walk, and then increase to 100. So that would be a better way of doing it. And then the second question, okay. Okay, how to manage your breathlessness and maintain your stamina during your run? No, we should not go into a breathlessness state at all. In any training, the moment you feel, because we are not this is not our job. This is like our so definitely don't go into that kind of a breathlessness. When you feel very uncomfortable, stop and start walking. As we don't need to train at that kind of maximal level. That is only for those who are doing 100-meter sprints and things like that. So be in a comfortable zone. The moment you feel uncomfortable, start walking for a minute, and then start again. With time, your body will get used to it, and you will be able to more. And don't go into those. Then again, does resting heart rate have an impact on calculating zones? Yeah, there are two ways of doing. One is on maximum heart rate, and then you can also use on heart rate reserve, maximum minus the resting heart rate. But I did not take into that picture because the resting heart rate, again, it is some people, they may not have it, and then it varies from there is accuracy difference in accuracy that changes a lot, because the resting heart rate, even from 54 to 60, my resting heart rate changes from 54 to 60. If I make a mistake in that number 6, it makes a big difference in the percentages. So resting heart rate is a good measure to keep, but it is absolute. End of the day, it is a minus. It's an offset value. So what is more important is your slope of the line, the response of heart rate with respect to your increase in pace. It is not the intercept. Intercept, it will automatically go down the baseline. The slope is important. The flatter you have, it is better. The steeper you have, it is more problematic. Anand Babu, my running pace is 7:30 and wherein the heart rate is more than 130. How should I improve to get this aerobics off? Okay, 7:30 is actually, I would say, the slowest pace you can. Anything more than 7:30 is, it says my internet connection is unstable. Okay, anything slower than 7:30 may not give much of a. So you keep running in this 150 for your age. It's not a, maybe in the summer it's 150, and the good climate it will be less. So start running in this thing. But I think it may be your running dynamics. You may be putting there is a lot of friction in the system. You may be wasting a lot of energy. That's why this heart rate is so much for this pace. So one is work on your running form. Actually, that's very important. When we are running, try to run like, you feel like you are running on a cloud. You don't want to hurt the ground, not hit the ground, and try to improve your cadence. Higher the cadence is better, and reduce the ground contact time. So, and then you are landing, and you may be braking. If you are landing in front, you may be braking. So take care of your running form actually. So 150 is not a bad thing. But don't run slower than 730 pace. So that it will go for a jogging, and you may not get the desired stimuli for improvement. Radha Krishnan, can you guide on the right breathing while running? Yeah, breathing actually, mostly if you can do belly breathing, it is always good. What I did myself is I synchronize my breathing with my foot. Every time each strike is up, like when I'm running slow, it is kind of 4-4. Kind of one, I inhale 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, very slow, and 1, 2, 3, 4 out. So 8 strides, one cycle is over. When I increase the pace, it will go 3, 3, 2, 2, and 1, 1 is maximum. 1 is a kind of the zone 5 running. So when I'm running in zone 5, it is 1 in, 1 out. So if you can synchronize with your foot, the stride, then that will help in, and then try to improve the belly breathing. No, you don't breathe. Let the diaphragm do the job. And very good. Okay. My Ironman experience. My Ironman experience, actually, I was only running, and I thought the cyclists and swimmers are fools, because the running is only a good sport. That is a feeling at 3-4 years actually. But then I started getting more. Every day you keep running and then start getting injuries. So I thought of incorporating this. So it was in 2018 October I started. I knew this kind of our country swimming, but I started swimming in 2018. And then did a triathlon, and then did Ironman in 3 months. And then now I like more all the three actually. It is the training. There is a specific training followed for the Ironman also. So my first Ironman was in 3 months. So I did around 7 hours. This time it was 5.5 hours. This Ironman is not Ironman actually. It is 70.3. So there is a lot of time spent on it, and I enjoy it actually more than only running. And now, is it recommended to walk to reduce the heart rate during run? Yeah, walk run is good actually. Walk run, but again, if you are doing an ultra marathon, walk run is. But for running a marathon, maybe initially the first marathon and all, it's okay. It is okay. If your heart rate is going beyond the limit, you can slow down. Don't walk actually. Try to reduce the pace and slightly jog around. It's better. In case if you're not going, you can walk. You can of course walk, but always it's not. If you're serious in some time, in 4 hours or 4.5 hours, I would not say walking. But if you're just run a marathon 5 hours, 5.5 hours, then walk run is a good strategy. Your home workout is so impressive. Okay. What is the best method to calculate the heart rate? So, okay. But one of the best methods, first you have to determine what is your maximum heart rate that you can run actually, without damaging the system, how much you. And anyway, you cannot do a kind of any maximum test also. So what I did in the beginning is whenever we run fast, like during 10K races and all, you always run, and towards the end you try to run as your maximum level. And then I was going through the heart rate data. What is the recorded maximum heart rate data? Then I kind of got hold of it. Was going around 190, 185, 190. Then I took like, okay, I have run at this heart rate, so 180 to 185. So this is how I did it. But they say there is calculation like 220 minus your age. That if you don't have any data, that is a good starting point. 220 minus age. Then if you are an athletic person, you have been running for some time, you can add 5-10 units to it. But this works for European conditions, actually very ideal weather and good There's oxygen level and all those conditions. But in our Middle East conditions, this temperature may be 5-10 units more. So if you are a 40, sorry, most of the runners may be around 40, 50. Okay, if you are a 40-year-old person, then it will be 180 to 190 your maximum range. And then if you take 190, and then you can break down the percentages based on that. And your slow run should be less than 80%. And then your marathon, typically a marathon finish around 80 to 84% of your VO2 max. So 80 to 84% is your marathon, 84 to 88, 90% is your half marathon, and 90 to 94 is your 10K, 5K, and then your VO2 max is at 100%. But do your slow runs less than 80%, preferably less than 76%, 76%. That will come down to around 130, 140 kind of range. So that is good enough. And when you start running, you start a lower pace and then always build it up. How many HR based runs do you recommend in a week? Maybe if there is no race you're training for, 3 runs. 3 runs heart rate based, and then 1 run of a higher pace.
Sir, there is one more question. People who want to reduce the weight, do you recommend slow run?
Yeah, no, whether you run slow or fast. Okay, slow running will burn more fat, but the body has a mechanism inside where it is converted to here and there. So to reduce, even if you run fast also, it will reduce. There is no difference actually. It is how much calories consumed and how much calories you are going inside, and your base metabolic rate. Slow running will definitely improve that percentage and your muscle. So, but the problem is if you run slow in 1 hour, the same energy you consume in half an hour fast running. So it depends on your time. But definitely slow running is a better way of reducing your weight, and then definitely it's a better way of improving your endurance. But again, I would not recommend people run only slow. Then there is no fun in it actually. No, in between you go for you run 3 days slow and do some medium run at least during a week. Then the body don't see. The problem is actually body is kind of anything you teach it to learn, and then the muscle memory is and the one day fine morning if you want to run fast, it will take a long time to get used to it. See, it is when you develop the slow run mitochondria, it is always it's not the number of mitochondria, it is also the efficiency, the power is also important. So it is the capacity you have to increase, at the same time you have to increase the power also. It is like designing a car. You need power, you need capacity, you need economy, and you have a good waste management, and then you have a good master control, good computer and you have a good cooling system. It is same exactly. You just have the car design in mind. Then we have to do exactly the same thing. Okay. Now there is one question from Sonali. To keep heart rate of 130, I have to run a pace. No, this is not 8:45 is not a running pace. Nothing more than 8. So 8 itself is a jogging pace or fast walking pace. Even if the heart rate is more than 130, you don't worry about it. It can go up to 140, 150, especially in this climate. So if you feel a little uncomfortable, then take a break in between, walk. With time, body get used to it. And now we have summer happening. This you may feel the heart rate is on the higher side, but when the summer goes down by September, October, then automatically your pace will go up and you will feel much better. So don't run at 8:45. Never run any pace slower than 8. If the heart rate is going much more, then stop and start walking, and then restart the run again. Hello?
Yes, sir. I think there is one more question.
Yeah,
Which one you
there is
recommend,
a
morning run or evening run?
morning. Okay. Now there are see I, it depends on person actually. If you have a desire of like a Boston qualification or a sub 4 marathon, you will do whatever it takes. So I used to run even fasted runs. Like no, I don't eat the dinner, lunch, and then don't eat dinner. And early morning I used to wake up and then go run 2 hours. So that kind of extremes. So definitely empty longs and these low fat runs in the fast condition morning is always better. But the fast runs, the higher sounds, it is preferred in the evening. Sense. Morning, if you run a higher sound, you'll have to do a very good warm up. Otherwise, your body is not ready for it. So if you do any higher sound runs in the morning, you have to do a very good warm up. Then you can do it in the morning also. But I do the other way around. Mostly the slow runs I do in the morning, and fast runs I do in the evening, because fast runs are short duration and your body is you really woken up enough, so it is you're more ready for the fast runs in the evening. How many hours per day workout recommends? So that also you have to build up actually. So usually initially maybe 5-6 hours. It depends on your level of fitness also. So 5 to 6 hours, then build it up to 10 hours. We used to have even up to 14 hours in the peak. So peak is kind of 70 to 100 kilometers for a 34 hours marathon training. It depends on what you're training for. If you're training for 10K is different. The half marathon is different. If you're a beginning runner, there are a lot of it. It is all
announced.
yeah.
And
Gels for energy, marathon day, yes, marathon day to improve time, whatever comes on the way you do. But you have to practice it before marathon on the long runs. Gels are effective actually. I take 3 to 4, or maybe sometimes up to 5 in the last 20 kilometers. It helps actually. It has specialized carbohydrate with high absorption rate. So I don't mind taking, but on normal days I don't take. I usually take dates and banana for any slow runs and ultra marathon runs. And even Ironman, I don't take gels. It is only but marathon runs sometimes 4-5 gels. It will definitely help you. At least keep it in the pocket so that if you run out of fuel, you can put it. And there is something with caffeine also. You took in the last 10K.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think it's almost all the questions are answered.
Yeah, it is. There is no.
Thank you very much for your in detailed presentation, and then there are a lot of information which are new to us.
No, the thing is actually this is a broad subject. What I try to give is a general view of it without going into specifics of it. So okay, please.
Yeah. So I think the others can just unmute it or open their video and then just tell their views.
Okay.
Mohandas,
Sure.
which runs you prefer? Have you got for any trail runs?
Trail run, we used to do local trail runs. Not much actually, because I have another issue with my foot is plantar fasciitis. So I am a chronic fan. I have all problems, whatever you name it. So plantar fasciitis, I used to get. I had it in my football days. So more than 20 years. So the trail runs, you have to do a lot of dancing here and there, technical trail. So that but I enjoy more running on the trails than on the road.
Okay.
How can you manage the timing here? That is very important. No? The timing, like Ironman, especially you're practicing for Ironman or 42 kilometers.
Yeah, timing is a problem. 3 hours driving in a day, work 70 kilometers away, lot of business travel. So that is why every run, every training session, I make it count. Actually, that is the reason. I don't have time for any junk mileage. So every run is a specific purpose, and then I make it count actually. So that is, I run less, but every run is quality run.
Yeah.
It's not the quantity, it's quality.